this session I'm going to discuss the topic of new lifecycle policy for Dynamics 365 Business Central called Modern Lifecycle Policy. And this policy differs from the previous one. It is, of course, something connected to Dynamics 365 Business Central on-premises version, because for cloud version the assumption is that the customer is updated with each new release of the product. In on-prem, the customer is able to stay with the installed version for longer. So it's quite important to know for how long Microsoft provides the support. If we look at the history, we can see that the previous policy called Fixed Lifecycle Policy was valid for many versions for Dynamics NAV, and then currently Business Central 13 and 14. And the most important thing about this policy was that Microsoft provided support for the system for the first 5 years since the release, and then additional 5 years for limited services. Right now, the Modern Lifecycle Policy is much shorter. The versions since Business Central 15 are supported by Microsoft for the 18 months since the release. And it's not actually surprising that the version Business Central 15 released in October 2020 has been selected as that turning point for lifecycle policies. Because that was the first version where it was no longer possible to customize the standard application. So you could say that the new technology of extensions was introduced in the full scope, which meant that the upgrades, in fact, are much easier now than they were before. This lifecycle policy is going to be valid for also the next versions of Business Central. In the previous fixed lifecycle policy, as said, we had 2 5-year periods. The first period of called mainstream support. That was the period when the customer received the new features for the version of the system used, and also security updates and non-security updates. And after the 5 years, the version of the system has been transferred to the extended support. Extended support meant that the new features are no longer provided for the specific version. However, the security updates were still provided, and this extended period started 5 years after the release of the product and lasted 10 years. 10 years after the release. So it was also 5 years for this period, and after that, after 10 years since the release of the product, there was no support of no updates of any kind for the product. If we look at the different versions of the Dynamics NAV, Vision even, and Business Central, you could see that there are, of course, different end dates for both mainstream support and extended support. And if we look at how they look like now, we can see that all of the versions until NAV 2009, these are the versions that that are beyond the extended support. So they do not have any kind of updates. The versions NAV 2013 until 15, these are the versions with the extended support only. So they have the security updates only provided by Microsoft. And then we have the versions since NAV 2016, the versions with mainstream support available, with the remark that NAV 2016 will be on the mainstream support until April 2021. And the second remark is that the version Business Central 13 has this mainstream support available as long as it will be updated to the version 14. If we now look at the modern lifecycle policy, you can see that the approach is different. Basically, for the first 6 months since the release of the version, the product is fully supported by Microsoft. Means that both the new features, regulatory updates, and bug fixes are released for the product the same way how it is for cloud. And after six months after the release, when the new version is released, the new features are provided for the newer version. And since then, for the next 12 months, the version is provided by Microsoft only with the regulatory updates and bug fixes, which means that the customer that is with the on-prem version, of course, has much more time to update to the newer version than the customer that is on cloud, because you have this additional 12 months of the supported period. But on the other hand, of course, this is much shorter than it used to be in the previous versions. So what are the conclusions? First of all, the way how majority of the customer talked about the upgrades has to change. At least if you would like to stay on the supported version for future. So you cannot only just implement the system and stay with this implemented version for many years until the next upgrade. The upgrades need to be something that occurs quite often. Secondly, it may be surprising. It is something new, but the projects for the bigger customers, the projects that last longer than 6 months, will have updates during the implementation time. So it may happen that we, for example, begin the project with the Business Central 17 version, but during the project there will be the release available for this version, and during the project the version will be released. So we may start the project with Business Central 17, for example, and go live the solution on the version 18. The answer for these challenges, there are two. The first answer is there are the extensions. So there is the new technology that supports those frequent updates. In very short, they mean that we do no longer customize the base application, the standard application provided by Microsoft, in order to provide the customizations required by the customer. What we do is we build the extensions, so anytime the new version is released, that standard application can be updated quite easily. The thing is what to do with the extensions in order to update them also in more automatic way. The answer is there are the automatic tests. This is the same approach as we have for for the apps released on App Source. If the vendor would like to release the app on App Source to be available to the broad range of customers, Microsoft requires that the app will be provided together with the automatic tests. Otherwise, it will not be released. And these automatic tests have to prove that this app will be quite easily upgradable with each new release. And the same approach is suggested for the extensions. So if we now provide the extensions for the new customer, it's always recommended to provide them together with the automatic tests to enable those frequent updates of Dynamics 365 Business Central. Thank you very much.